Vince Lowry, just last week, RevenueShares launched its Global Growth ETF, and what you're doing in this one is you're targeting growing companies in growing countries. Tell me what's in it. How do you do it?
Well, what we do is we separate the world by developed markets and emerging markets. We take the 5 fastest growing developed GDP countries, the 5 fastest developed emerging market companies, and we do that on a quarterly basis. We see who's growing the fastest, and we weight towards those countries. Then we take, out of each country, the top 10 revenue-producing companies, and it becomes a portfolio of 100 stocks, 50 developed, 50 emerging markets, and it's rebalanced by their revenues every quarter. Essentially, we're trying to capture who's growing their GDP and what companies in that GDP are growing their revenues. And the backtesting we have is just remarkable. We think it's a great opportunity for people that want to step in and have some in emerging and some in developed.
And it's brand new. That's your RGRO.
That's
You
right.
also have the Revenue Small Cap Fund. That's your RWJ. That's been out for a while. And a lot of people are saying now is a good time to get into small caps because they don't have to worry so much about a stronger dollar hurting their revenue. What do you think?
Well, I think they're right. That's been one of our most successful funds and one of the most successful small cap funds that is out there in terms of performance. Morningstar has it rated 5-star. But what's interesting, it's the S&P 600. And we take each constituent in the S&P 600. We're S&P's partner in this. We revenue weight those constituents. We do it every quarter. And it's turned out to be a very robust small cap fund that can take on a lot of volume. And if you take a look at Morningstar, whether you look at it on a growth, core, or value, it's one of the top performing small cap funds that is in the U.S. domestic market.
And then you also have a dividend fund, which has actually done really well over the past year. And this is the RDIV. It's got around a 3% yield. How is this different from the other dividend funds out there? Because there's a lot.
Well, I've been in the business for 30 years, and one thing that's been consistent through that whole period, people want income, but they're always worried about inflation. So what we did is we looked at the market with S&P, and we looked at the S&P 900, and we took the top 60 dividend yielding stocks in the S&P 600 and then revenue weighted them. And essentially we ended up with about 22 of the 60 stocks are mid-cap, and their revenues are growing very fast. The other part in the S&P 500, most of it, about 35% is utilities. So essentially we have the stability of the income of utilities, but with the growth of the revenues in the S&P 400 and the mid-cap, the dividend achievers, they're increasing their dividends consistently. So if you look at the whole portfolio over the last 10 years, that model, the average increase in dividend has been about 10.5% a year in the actual dividend growth. So it's a very robust product that can grow in a growing market. If inflation comes back, revenues will go up, and this will be able, we believe, will be able to adjust to any increase in inflation. And right now it's yielding about 4%.
All right, and then finally, you concentrate on revenue as opposed to earnings because in your view, revenue is the toughest thing to fake, right?
It's not only the toughest thing to fake, but if you think about it, the most important thing in the whole economy, our $17 trillion economy, is the transactions taking place. You cannot replace the intelligence around a transaction because the people involved in those transactions have all the information necessary. So if you follow these companies aggregately by their revenues and look at them versus the rest of the market, that's intelligence, and that's why it's so successful versus all the other weighting schemes that are out there.
All right, Vince is looking at the top line. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for your time.
And thank you for watching The Street.